All right, let's talk about the one question that has probably sunk more Java interviews than any other. It seems so simple on the surface, but trust me, it's loaded with traps. And today, we're going to learn how to spot them and ace the answer.
And you know what? I'm not exaggerating. Getting this wrong isn't just a small mistake, it's a huge red flag to an interviewer. It suggests you don't really get how Java works under the hood. So, let's make sure you're ready for it.
So what is this super dangerous question? Well, it's this. What's the difference between double equals and dot equals? That's it. But see, the danger isn't in the question itself. It's in what a simple, shallow answer reveals about your real-world coding skills.
Yeah, when an interviewer asks this, they're not just looking for a definition you memorized. They're probing deeper. They want to know, do you understand how Java handles memory? Do you really get how objects work? Are you aware of the clever things Java does behind the scenes? And most importantly, are you mature enough as a coder to avoid common bugs?
Okay, so this whole thing really boils down to one central idea. Are we comparing where something is or what it is? Are we talking about its location in memory, its reference, or are we talking about the actual data inside it, its content?
Let's start with double equals. When you use double equals with objects, you're basically asking, are these two variables pointing to the exact same place in my computer's memory? So in this example, we're creating two brand new integer objects. They both hold the value 10, sure, but they are two separate things living in two different spots in memory. So are they the same object? Nope, that's why this returns false.
Now let's look at equals equals. This method couldn't care less about memory addresses. Its job is to look inside the objects and compare their actual values. It asks, logically, do these two objects represent the same thing? And since both objects contain the number 10, the answer is a clear yes, so it returns true.
Here's a really simple way to think about it. Using equals equals is like asking, do these two keys open the exact same door to the exact same house? They have to point to one single physical thing. But dot equals is like looking at the mailing address on two separate envelopes. You could have two different houses on two different streets, but if they both have the address number 123, dot equals says they match.
Okay, so you've got it, right? Double equals for memory location. Dot equals for the stuff inside. Seems straightforward. Well, this is the exact moment where the interview trap is sprung, because when it comes to Java strings, the rules suddenly seem to break. So let me ask you directly. Knowing what we just discussed, that double equals checks if two variables point to the same object, what should this code do? We're creating two separate strings, S1 and S2. So S1 equals S2. That should be false, shouldn't it? But it's not. It returns true. And this is the point in the interview where you might see someone start to sweat. Everything we just established seems to be wrong. But there's a really clever reason for this.
And that reason is called the string pool. See, Java's super efficient. To save memory, when you create a string literal like Java, Java first checks a special little area in memory, the string pool. It asks, have I seen this exact string before? If the answer is yes, it doesn't bother creating a new object. It just says, here, just use the one we already have. So S1 and S2 are actually pointing to the exact same object.
But you can force Java to ignore this optimization. When you explicitly use the new keyword, you're telling the Java virtual machine, hey, I don't care about your fancy string pool. I want a brand new, fresh object right here, right now. And in that case, equals goes right back to behaving how we'd expect. It returns false because you forced the creation of two separate objects.
Okay, so we've walked through the theory and we've dismantled the big trap. Now let's wrap all of this up into a perfect, confident answer that's going to make you look really, really good in that interview.
Here's your golden rule. It's simple. If you're comparing primitive types, things like int, char, boolean, use equals. It works perfectly because you're just comparing raw values. But for literally everything else, any object at all, your default, your go-to should always be dot equals. The only time you'd ever use equals for objects is if you have a very specific and pretty rare reason to check if two variables are pointing to the exact same spot in memory.
And that's the money line right there. This is what you should always remember for your code and for your interviews. It shows you understand how to write safe, bug-free code. When you're dealing with objects, just use dot equals. It's that simple.
All right, one last quick gut check. An interviewer might try to flip the question on you to see if you really get it. They'll ask, okay, so if x dot equals y is true, does that guarantee that x equals y is also true?
And the answer is a big, confident no.
Absolutely not. And you know exactly why. You can have two totally separate houses in two different cities, but if they both have the house number 10, they are equal in content, but they are definitely not the same physical building.
And that brings us to the perfect interview-winning answer. You can say it just like this. In Java, the double equals operator compares memory references for objects, but it compares the actual values for primitive types. The dot equals method, on the other hand, is meant to compare the logical content of two objects. With strings, there's a special case. Double equals might unexpectedly return true because of an optimization called the string pool, but equals is always the safe bet because it consistently compares the actual characters inside the strings. Nailing an answer like that doesn't just get you a check mark, it proves you really, truly know your stuff.